Welcome everyone to the FTI Peak Asset Management webinar. My name is Niv Dagan. I'm the Executive Director of Peak Asset Management. For those who don't know, we're a boutique investment management corporate advisory business in Melbourne, and our whole principle is all about co-investment. So we only put deals in front of investors unless we're co-investing our own capital behind it. And on that note, what a year it's been, 2024. It's been about interest rates. It's been about Trump. It's been about Middle East wars. It's been about oil, and it's been about crypto. Today, we will be hearing from four extinguished guests, essentially, and CEOs, and we'll be joined by also Philip Dutoit from RCF, and obviously Shane from FTI, Managing Director of FTI, in a panel with myself and Elodie to really talk about what's been the big topics of 2024, and as an investor, what you can also expect for 2025. And there's a lot to unpack. So on that note, I just want to introduce Stephen Michael from Red Hawk as our first speaker, and look forward to hearing about the Red Hawk story. So, Stephen, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks very much, Niv, and thank you very much to all the investors that are on the line at the moment. Red Hawk Mining, we are a junior iron ore company looking to develop the Blacksmith project in Western Australia, in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. The Red Hawk, we changed names to Red Hawk Mining about 16 months ago. And over those 16 months, the company has advanced the Blacksmith project quite considerably. Over that time period, we've completed a scoping study, an initial scoping study looking at a 3 million tonne per annum project. We then, earlier this year in May, released the results of a pre-feasibility study, which increased our annual tonnage rate up to 5 million tonnes per annum, increase our resources, and what you can see on the bottom of the chart is the increase in resources over the last 16 months. And what we've seen over that time period is we've taken the historic resource that the company had, and we have now defined direct shipping ore resources across 5 of our deposits. And importantly, the resource as we stand today is 243 million tonnes at just under 60% Fe, and over 95% of that resource is in the measured and indicated categories. You can see some metrics on the company. We have just under 200 million shares on issue, which gives us a market cap today of just over $170 million. And at the last quarterly report, we had just over $3 million in cash. So going to the next slide, we have a board and management team laid out here. Without going into detail, what you can see is we have considerable iron ore experience across the management team, including BHP, Hancock, Mount Gibson, but we also have significant people who understand how to get business done in Western Australia and, more importantly, the Pilbara. And we formed Pilbara Advisory Committee. Brendan Grills, the former leader of the National Party and member for Pilbara, is on our advisory committee and has been very useful in helping us achieve access to things like the Utah Point bulk handling facility. Blacksmith project is located in the heart of the Pilbara region. You can see on this map, we are surrounded by iron ore majors. We're 70 kilometres north of Tom Price, south of Karratha, and we're essentially surrounded on all sides by Rio Tinto and Fortescue. What you can see there is Rio surrounds us to the north and Fortescue surrounds us to the south. And importantly, we have this island of iron ore sitting in amongst those two major producers. And what we've been developing over the last 16 months is not only the upgraded resource, you can see the resource specifications there on this chart, but also getting the access or the route to market, which when it comes to bulk commodities, getting to market is almost, if not more important than finding the iron ore. In our case, the iron ore outcrops on this slide here, the red areas, which we call Kanga, or predominantly outcrops, and you can walk on these Kanga outcrops and they're grading roughly 62% iron, and underlying the Kanga is the Dales Gorge member, which is highlighted in blue here, which typically starts off at around 62% iron and then decreases with depth until we get to our cutoff grade. You can see there that we've completed the pre-feasibility study in May this year, And here's just a snapshot of the pre-feasibility study. We looked at scoping a 5 million tonne per annum project, and that was largely driven by our assessment of available export infrastructure. The project itself has the ability to produce at a much higher rate than that, but given logistics of road and port infrastructure, we've capped out our production at 5 million tonnes per annum. It's a very low capital operation. The development costs, and these are in Australian dollars, at the pre-feasibility study was $217 million, and we had a capital payback period of just over 3 years. And you can see that with a 23-year mine life, we generated quite significant post-tax returns, both in terms of NPV and IRR. And again, importantly, our cash cost, C1 cash cost, $51 per tonne. That's delivered to the port at Utah Point and Port Hedland, and that puts us in the middle quartile of global iron ore producers. So just zooming in on the projects a little bit more, you can see the main mining centres that were being considered as part of the pre-feasibility study. It's worth noting that the deposit in the southern end of our tenure, which is called Eagle, was not yet converted to a direct shipping ore resource at the time of the pre-feasibility study. So as we move into our definitive feasibility study, we will introduce Eagle into our mine planning as well. But you can see there on the chart, we've got a 20-year mine life at the 5 million tonne per annum rate. So going to the next slide, a very high level visualization of what the delta, the first mining area, will look like. You can see a series of very shallow pits. All of our pits are above the water table. We don't mine below the water table, which means we don't have to worry about dewatering and the impact that dewatering has on the neighbouring locations. We have a dry three-stage crushing and screening. So you can see there we've got the 5-finger ROM pad, goes through a very small crushing and screening plant onto 2 product stockpiles, and then ultra-quad road trains will take that to port. As I said at the start, infrastructure is important, but logistics is probably just as important when it comes to bulk commodities. And on the next slide, you can see our route to market. So our plan is that we will take ore along what's called the Manuara Red Dog Highway. The Manuara Red Dog Highway is a public road which is currently being upgraded to take ultra quads. That upgrade is being completed by Main Roads at the moment, and they've got about 47 kilometres left to go till they reach the turnoff to the Blacksmith project. We will build a 27-kilometre short haul road which joins up with the Manuara Red Dog Highway, and from there we're on public roads all the way to Utah Point in Port Hedland. So up the Manuara Red Dog Highway roughly to Karratha, and then the Northwest Coastal Highway into Port Hedland. So it's a very low-cost capital option for us. On the bottom left, you can see the ultra quads. We've got an alliance with a group called MGM Bulk, who currently provide more than 50% of the haulage into Utah Point, and we've got a strategic alliance with MGM to provide our haulage services. So over the next 12 to 24 months, what can you expect from Red Hawk? We have got enabling works underway for the DFS. What I mean by that is we are doing a lot of work on hydrology, on pit designs, but also looking at alternative port arrangements which could enable us to increase our production capacity beyond the 5 million tonne level. So we're looking at completing that enabling works over the next 3 months or so. So by first quarter of next year, we can launch into the DFS in earnest. We've got some additional resource extension drilling around our initial mining area, which we're looking to complete early next year, which may bring further tonnage into those early years of mining. And we're looking specifically at outcropping Kanga material, which is very valuable, and additional work to support the feasibility study and into the mine development, including things like the camp design, finalisation of the camp, and also looking at areas, including laydown areas for ore as we move to Utah Point. The plan for us is that we will have the DFS underway early next year, and then we will come out with an updated timetable for the development as a result of the DFS. But all going well, and depending on development of the Manuara Red Dog with Main Roads, we should be in production by 2026. And the plan is that we will have first ore on ship in Port Hedland in 2026, where we have an initial, we've been notified of 1 million tonnes of port allocation at Utah Point if we achieve certain milestones over the next 12 months, which we're looking to achieve to give us that initial allocation out of Utah Point, so we can become the next miner in the Pilbara, iron ore miner in the Pilbara. So thank you very much.